Tackle today, the Justice Brothers from Tackle Trading, bringing you all the charts, the news, the analysis, so you can be informed in just a few minutes. We're going to be putting out the newsletter. It's been a busy week, a lot of moving parts. We're going to be putting out the Tackle Trading newsletter later today. Pro members will be able to get that. Not too late to become a pro member. Sign up for a 15-day free trial. You get to check out that newsletter. Matt, I see small caps, I see industrials, I see cyclicals taking off this morning. Markets, S&P 500, the Qs kind of just hovering out, but we certainly have strong movement in certain areas of the market, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do, Mark, when you're looking at the market. And really, kind of the story is yesterday, as we did get that confirmation candle following the bullish retracement and just seeing a little bit of continuation price action today, a little bit of slowing momentum to end the week following an upward movement in price yesterday on the S&P 500. But when you're looking just at the S&P 500, not really telling the complete story here, because the indexes are starting to separate just a little bit when you're looking at the cyclical areas of the market. And once again, the question that I have going into the weekend, and that I'm going to detail in the newsletter, and so for the pro members of Tackle Trading, definitely check that out, is after the election, it was an aggressive cyclical move. Now we're starting to see the early signs of a cyclical continuation, but defensive starting to tag along a little bit. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, the Qs are going to consolidate, but you're starting to see a little bit of defensive pricing coming into the market as well. So big update in the newsletter here later on today, as we're seeing indexes across the board from IWM show really good momentum. The diamonds here, great upward movement in price this week. The S&P 500 confirms the bullish retracement, and the Q is still looking not too shabby against the overall price movement, but you're certainly seeing better momentum following NVIDIA's report in the cyclical areas of the market, such as RSP, IWM, DIA. Those are kind of the indexes you track for that type of movement versus the Qs and the spiders. Again, not one index doing really, really good is not at the behest of another index. They're all still doing fairly similar from a bullish trending and a bullish pattern perspective, but the momentum has changed over the last two trading sessions. IWM, diamonds, RSP show that. That shows you're seeing a little bit of that cyclical move right now.
Yeah, listen, and we're going to detail that in the newsletter. Be sure to check that out. That's the story to end this week for sure. And something that we've talked about all week, Matt, pretty healthy charts. Lots of places we've looked, right? We're seeing a lot of those charts confirmed the last couple of days, carry through that momentum. Not a lot of economic news today. We had some PIM numbers come out. Services came out hot. We had some consumer sentiment numbers came in low. Markets just are looking past economic data right now. I was looking at the dollar, I was looking at yields. Didn't move collectively a whole lot on the economic data, even though this, the manufacturing and services can certainly move the market other times. Markets are just looking past economic data right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they still have earnings themes to kind of go through. Walmart was a big name this week. NVIDIA was a big name this week, but the market's still focused on the post-election momentum environment. And so the economic landscape and all these economic reports this week were secondary reports. And so it's not like we were talking those big labor market numbers or those big inflationary numbers. And so you were seeing a little bit of secondary reports this week, but in general, I would say it was a pretty good economic week for the U.S. economy, with services. PMI numbers doing really good today, coming in at 57. Initial claims earlier this week was fairly decent. Even on the misses this week, like consumer sentiment, you saw just a slight miss. Same thing on the Philly Fed manufacturing index. And so a chalk week when it comes to the economic landscape. And we are still looking at that 107 handle on the dollar here, and it was not a chalk week for the dollar. Is it confirmed off that bullish retracement, broke through that 107 level, and I'm a little bit surprised by the consistency of the stock market specifically, and the commodity market that is now looking at this 107 breakout on the dollar. And you're still seeing a fear bid coming into gold here today. V-shaped recovery still intact. Silver is still looking at really good development underneath the shorter duration moving averages. Copper still trying to build support off that pretty aggressive sell-off following the election. trying to dial in that $4 handle. On the crude oil side of the equation, you're seeing a little bit of upward movement in price, breaking through those moving averages. And so on a day where you got a beat on the services side, you come in line on the manufacturing side, you miss on the consumer confidence side, dollar breaks 107, and we're not seeing an impact in the commodities or the equity side of the equation. Ain't me surprised, but I'm also expecting this wick to come back underneath 107. So a little bit of upward movement in price is not impacting the market here today. I'm a little surprised by that.
False breakout would be nice, to say
It would
the
be very
least.
nice. It would be very nice.
We're gonna go look at that absolutely frisky gold chart here in a second, but got a few stocks in the news before we do that.
Yeah, we do got a little bit of stocks in the news here today. Let's talk a couple of earnings reports. Intuit did have earnings here today. Intuit came in line on pretty much everything from guidance to revenue. Revenue was up 10%, but in line against expectation. EPS 250 in line against expectation. Guidance 1860 by 1835. That was reaffirmed here today as well. A little bit of downward pressure in price following their announcement. And when you're looking at it from a technical perspective, the only level that really stands out to me was 675. And the other thing that stands out to me is they should have announced a split. We would have talked about you a little bit more after that split into it. So next quarter, you know what to do into it. Let's look at ROST stores as they report earnings today as well. They came out with a beat of 6.5%, slightly better than the average market beat itself. On the revenue side, 3% increasing revenue year over year. They also guided at 157 to 164, which was a slight miss against where the consensus was on guidance. A little bit of a gap up. Sell down behavior. Think the market's right because this feels like a doji report to me. And then market company that was in the news recently on a positive earnings story made the quick hits list in the newsletter last week. This week, you know what? Kind of feels like old Goldman Sachs was looking at the exact same things that I was looking at in the newsletter last week. As Flutter gets a buy rating on initiating coverage out of Goldman Sachs with a price target of a whopping $320. They love Flutter. Well, Flutter made our quick hits last week, makes Goldman Sachs this week. That's right. We're in front of them. Looking good on Flutter on a breakout against a high base following that news on the initiating coverage out of Goldman Sachs.
Gold is on track to have its best week of the year. Right. Like I did not see that coming. This is straight V shape at this point, Matt. Best week of the year. It has had some really good weeks, right? It's had some really good weeks. This rally this week has been ferocious. You are on track to reclaim all moving averages on all time frames. This sets up for secondary patterns coming off this V to have a lot of confidence in it.
Has not sniffed supply side this week. And you know what's amazing here is gold is up, broke through the 90 EMA without a test, broke through the 50 period moving without a test, broke through the 20 period, which was converged against the 50 period without a test. That's a little bit abnormal. You add on top of that we were talking about the dollar breaking out of that 107 level, and the dollar's up pretty strong over the last 3 trading sessions. Gold's up pretty strong over the last 3 trading sessions. Dollar's up strong over the last 3 trading sessions. What's going on? You're seeing a fear bid coming into gold is what's going on. Now, obviously, there's a lot of sensitivity to the geopolitical situations that is happening in Europe and in the Middle East right now. But specifically, you had expansion in the Ukrainian conflict this week. A lot of chatter, nuclear saber rattling chatter happening out of that Ukrainian crisis this week. And so, obviously, gold does get a bid in those environments. Even against what we're seeing on the dollar, gold is very, very, very strong. I'm a little bit surprised by the strength of gold, even with that Ukrainian, Russian, geopolitical chatter in the news right now, because gold since the election up until this week had been trading very in tandem with the dollar. That diverged big time this week. Gold did not care in any capacity what the United States dollar was doing here this week. And what are you seeing on the GDX side of the equation? A little bit of a deeper retracement Obviously, you would like to see a little bit of development on the GDX side of the equation, but came into that 200-day moving average recently. Now you're talking about a test against that 20-period moving average. You could paint a lot of positive scenarios coming out of this GDX technical conversation, but the best one starts with another downward movement in price to really shore up that support level right around the 200-day moving average. But GDX deeper retracement here, that's a positive sign. Gold breaking up above all its shorter duration moving averages, feels like it wants to get back up and test those all-time highs. Gold looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I know. And silver consolidating. Normally, silver will tag along with gold eventually. Not a bad look from a consolidation perspective as we head into the weekend, Matt.
No, you got to love it as an investor if you're looking at gold, but you don't love it as a trader because it didn't give you a setup. That's kind of what's happening on silver here, is it's setting up underneath those moving averages. And that's what you really, from a trader's perspective, you do like that that little dose of consolidation this week, because what starts to happen, 20-period moving average gets down to converge against the breakout channel. You got that stubborn 50 to contend with, but you like the consolidation here. You would love a little bit more time in that consolidation, give you a little bit of a reversal type feel. And so I don't mind silver here setting up from a trader's perspective on the gold side of the equation. You got to love the lift off there, but it did leave behind the traders.
Yeah, listen, oil consolidating, copper near the bottom. Listen, we're going to talk about all of these in the global market section in our newsletter, which we will release, including Bitcoin. We're going to break it all down. Be sure to check out that newsletter if you're a pro member. And if you're not a pro member, tackletrading.com. Sign up for that 15-day free trial.